I just want to say congratulations to Lance Martin for being on the front page of the business section today.
Take
Woohoo!
two. Take two.
Okay.
Oh, I hit it once. I should have hit it twice.
My battery's probably dead.
Right, just started.
Okay, well, I want to say thank you to Kathy Meisner. Oh, shoot. Sorry. Oops.
That's okay.
It might be the wrong
Name?
slide. Want to say thank you to Kathy Meisner for bringing us breakfast this morning. Come front.
Oh,
Are you going to dance, Kathy?
I have
or-
to come up here, huh?
Yeah, you got to come up here. You're stand in front of Lance's
I don't
article.
know. I'm kind of camera shy.
Oh, yeah.
Hi everybody, Kathy Lansford, Old Republic Home Warranty. Just had my 22nd year with Old Republic. Just wanted to remind you that I know that some of our competitors or prices are going up. We are not going to be going up, but it is always a good idea to keep a brochure, the newest ones in your desk so you have the right prices and things like that. Don't forget you guys are a Crest E&O office. And what that does for you is if there's any type of litigation or anything, they try to battle it before anything comes up. And if they do go to court or anything, they pay $2,500 of your deductible. If you have a normal transaction, not an REO, they also pay $25,000 for your seller in attorney fees. So that's kind of nice. February 17th, our comedy night filled up in one day. So we opened another night, so if you'd like to come, that's March 9th. I'll leave some flyers in the office. It's a great night out, so come on out, bring your spouse or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever and have some fun. Seller's coverage. So you just had a home inspection and everything's working, or what's not, you get fixed or whatever, and a month or two later you close escrow. Remember, you don't have coverage between that time, so we get a lot of calls from the homeowners. They move in and the first time they go to use something, it's not working, but it worked on the home inspection 2 months ago. So all you have to do is when you have a home inspection, throw seller's coverage on there. It's only 97 cents a day. That includes the air conditioning now. If you don't close, you don't pay, even if we replace the water heater.
I'm in a meeting.
Or so if we did work and it doesn't close, you don't pay. So that's kind of nice. But it really covers you for that time from the inspection until it closes. Okay? Don't forget we have NHDs. We hired Barbara Moody. She was with another company, so we have her with a job. So hopefully she'll come in and do a class or something for you guys. We get a lot of requests on warranties for 2 years. Yes, we can do that. Call Nikki or I personally. We can get you a 2-year home warranty for your clients if that's what they want. The last rain, Nikki and I got a lot of roof coverage calls. And of course, they didn't have roof coverage and they wanted to add it. So if they have a problem, we can't add it. But it's a good idea to get that roof coverage on there. It is limited, but it does cover up to $1,000. A lot of repairs can be done, you know, under the $1,000. So think about roof coverage in the next few months, especially if you're worried about the roof at all. And don't forget we have pest control. We have ants, crickets, roaches, mice, spiders, black widows, earwigs. That's all included in the plan, so that's kind of nice. I did notice that a lot of homes are closing these days without a home warranty. You know, you probably want to reduce your liability if the bank or the seller's not paying. You might want to push a little bit harder to try to get the buyer to get that on there, so when they move in, they don't have that big expense of the heater and air conditioners. Because there's so many new laws with air conditioners and heating systems and water heaters. So, but I appreciate your business. Anytime you have any questions or need any troubleshooting, let me know. And don't forget, we have a lot of marketing tools. I just brought some short sale door hangers in. So if you need anything like that, let us know. Thank you.
Lance, is Kevin Stroh coming this morning?
No, he's sick.
Oh, fine. Okay. I don't have a whole lot for you this morning. I got a couple of things that I wanted to go through. Because Lance has got a whole lot of stuff because he was in CAR meetings last month and all kinds of goodies to bring in. We do have our training schedule for this month, and hopefully you got that. And remember, you can find that online on our website. Just go to the agent tab and you'll find our training schedule there. We do have a class tomorrow, a realist training class from the CRMLS. Jane Morgan is coming out again. So if you'd like to see that class, come to it tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Lance is picking up his classes. There were a couple that were postponed from January, so we got 3 more of his classes this month. And we've got, we are starting, then we will start our, we'll go back to our basic training classes starting in March. we'll have Norm back, and he'll start that series again. So you got a couple pickup classes this month, and then March we're back into it. So, and then don't forget, it's not too late. At the end of February, the last day of February, starts our Coldwell Banker Convention in New Orleans, and we got convention packages for $3.99. So you have time right now to put something into escrow that will close before February 28th. Get some last-minute airfare and go to the convention, because it's always a really good thing, always very informative, good information, lots of fun. Lots of fun. Way too much fun. So. And I don't know if any of you actually look at the calendar that I send out, but I put a block there in the upper right-hand corner about prospecting, because if you're ever stuck and you don't know what to do, if you ever have a couple of hours and you just kind of go, okay, I need to do something, there's a whole bunch of things for you to do. So, and how many of you have that problem that you don't have anything to do? I don't either. Yeah, Dwayne, you have that problem all the time, I'm sure. Anyway, okay.
It's his birthday.
Yeah, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Dwayne.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's Jen Blue. We have a new agent, although I don't see her this morning. Heather, are you here anywhere that I don't see you? New agent just hired in yesterday or the day before. Her name is Heather Anderson. She's brand new to the business. So when you meet Heather, make sure you give her a hearty welcome. Kevin Stroh's sick. Let's talk about awards for the month of January. So, our top listing agent for the month of January, not here. She just got back from vacation yesterday. I missed her. It was Leandra Shepard. Leandra took 3 listings in the month of January. Congratulations, Leandra. Let's see who I got next. Oh, got her there. Diane Aronov. You know, I just keep Diane's name on the same slide every month, and I just change the month. Which, you know, I remember when I first got into the real estate business, I remember my manager giving out awards every month, and I remember being kind of like bummed out because I never got any awards. Back then, Al Rocha and Ken Nutter and Jeannie Opeka got all the top awards in my office at Great Western and later at Tarbell. And I just wanted to beat those guys so bad, and there came a time then when I started getting my name up there too. So if you're ever disheartened by me doing awards, remember that if you work hard enough, you'll get there. So it's a matter of wanting to do it and then doing it. Anyway, Diane Aronov had 6 sales in the month of January. Yay, Diane, she just stepped up. And our number 2 sales agent in the month of January with 5 sales. 5 sales in the month of January, not too shabby a month. Danny and Teresa Delgado. Hard work pays off. And one more. Top closings in the month of January. Our closings were pretty much spread across the board, but we had one person who closed 4 transactions in the month of January. Guess who that was? Diane Aronov. And so, just one other thing I wanted to mention. You know, we've changed our store hours here, in case you hadn't noticed. The receptionist is only here till 6 o'clock on weeknights instead of 8. Phone wasn't ringing a whole lot after 6 o'clock. Not a whole lot of walk-ins at that time, so she's only here until 6, and then on Saturday and Sunday, she comes in at 10, so a little bit later. So anyway, those are our changes for this month, and that, you will be pleased to know, is all I have today, because I'm going to put Lance up here. And when I get to be on the front page of the business section, then I'll talk. Oh, I should probably go back to that.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. How are we doing? Good. Who got my email yesterday? Who's replied to my email yesterday? Replied this morning? Okay, good. I sent out 170 some odd emails yesterday. Oh, look at that. Look at us. I've only had this thing the whole time. I should have used this before. Anyway, good morning. If you didn't get the email I sent yesterday, let me know. I think most everybody in this room should have. And that's going to ask Shelley if I could take a few minutes, out of actually a little more than a few minutes at this morning's meeting. There's a couple things I want to go over. But first with the email, I sent an email that basically said I wanted to kind of get your guys' pulse on what's going on in the market, okay? I've been visiting, matter of fact, let me pull something up, a little bit of background for us to look at while I'm talking about this. Most of you who have been in these meetings for any period of time are very familiar with my chart. And this chart is a tale of two markets, okay? And if you're bored to death of these, then get used to it, because I look at this stuff all day, every day, and I'm trying to reconcile what this chart says with what you guys are saying, with what I'm hearing in Redlands and Claremont and Covina, okay? So before I get into the meat and potatoes of this, since the middle of December through about the second week of January, with the holidays and all the rest of that, I've been all over the place. I've been in New York. I want to talk to you a little bit about the Inman Conference and tell you what was going on there. I've been to the CAR meetings down in Indian Wells. I'm going to tell you what was going on there. But more importantly, I've been in these offices a lot, and specifically right after the holidays, I've had a lot of agents, unsolicited, coming to me saying, "Oh my God, Lance, things are so busy. Oh my God, Lance, the market seems to be changing," okay? And I'm really trying to reconcile that with, is that just, I don't want it to be one of these things where it's the first of the year and we got a New Year's resolution, and what does everybody do after the first of the year? They want to get in shape a little bit, and they want to go to the gym, and when you go to the gym, the first, second week of January, all of the machines are all filled up, and you can't get anything, and then you go the first week of February, and guess what? It's dead, okay? So, with that analogy in play, when I have people come up to me the first, second week of January, real estate agents, saying the market is great, everything is good, there's a huge buzz out there, I'm a little suspect. And my suspicion is, are these the same people who are going to the gym the first couple weeks of January and then don't go to the gym for the rest of the year? Now, having said that, let me just put these, well, let me hit the chart first and then we'll get the numbers. The red, blue, and green lines are inventory. This is all of CRMLS. The red line, for those of you who have been paying attention, what's the red line? Active listings. What's going on with our active listing inventory? It's going down. Is that good or bad? Bad. Bad. Okay. Now the good news, which seems to confirm the reports that I've been hearing, and by the way, I've talked to Ryan and Ryan's dad Ed a little bit, and if what your dad's telling me is true, you guys are pretty damn busy the last month or so. And he says just a little bit. Your dad seemed to be, are you joking or you?
I was joking. December was the largest month in the history of the company.
Wow.
Did you hear that?
Wow.
December, largest month in the history of the company, loan originations. Now I don't know how much of that was refis in relation to purchases, but largest month in the history of the company. Not too bad to be a Hoffman today. Okay? But having said that, bring this back into our world. This little blue line, which granted is small, the blue bar on this chart is pending sales for open escrows. Okay? If you go back for the last 2 years, I don't think, let me actually pull up the numbers. The numbers for pending sales in January were 9,086 units, and you'd have to go all the way back to April of 2010 before you had 9,000 units. Open escrows. January. CRMLS. Is that good or bad? That's good. We're selling houses. Now, I don't know how many of these are going to stick, because if I run this exact same report a month from now, this number is going to change a little bit. Okay? They tend to adjust a tad. Okay? So it's more than likely it's going to drop below that $9,000 or 9,000 unit number. But bottom line, there's a lot of people that were at least saying that they were open in escrows in the month of January. Okay? And then our closings were off though. Did we feel like we had a good closing month in January? Well, whether we felt it or not, maybe a few of you did, the closing numbers actually were pretty tough. 5,800 units total CRMLS compared to December. Now, granted, I just ran this report just a few minutes ago. But having said that, today's what, the 8th? 8th of February? Okay, now there are going to be a few less than, superstar agents that may be a little lazy who forgot to report their January closing, and maybe they're going to report it today or tomorrow. But you would think by the 8th of the month, most of the listings that closed in January would have already been reported as closed, right? So assuming that that's accurate, this closed number is kind of tough, okay? Because basically we only closed 5,800 units. We closed 7,300 in December. Brian, you have a question?
Isn't that the same pattern we had last year?
It's similar, but if you go back to December of last year, December,
It's the same.
well, but the unit number, the pattern may be similar, but we closed 7,400 units in December last year.
7,300 this year.
No.
I'm sorry, I'm talking year.
Oh, I'm sorry, you are correct. Brian, look at the pattern guy. You're right. The solds in December were higher, the solds in January, which again, kind of makes sense. Why does that make sense?
Everyone's on vacation.
Everyone's on vacation, we're not putting as many escrows. And keep in mind, the units that we closed in December were stuff that we were putting into escrow in October and November and maybe the first week of December, whatever it happened to be. But it does make sense, and the pattern does tend to hold. But I got to tell you, I'm going to go back to the big chart, because the visual I think is a little easier for everyone to pick up. The thing that concerns me the most, because when you compare this year to last year, we're looking for trends. Did we have a little bit more inventory to sell last year? Yes, we had more inventory to sell last year. Okay? So, and again, even though we've got some big pending numbers in January, which should mean we're going to have good closings for what? February and maybe a little bit into March. The February numbers don't look too bad. Who's happy? I know we all could be happier, but who's happy with what they've got scheduled to close in February? Okay, 3 hands. Not so great considering there's 50 people in this room, but the office numbers for February, frankly, are not, they're certainly not terrible. I mean, I'm never happy with them. I always want another 10 or 15 or 20% in unit sales. But the thing that's probably the most concerning to me looking at these numbers is March, okay? Because if these inventory levels continue to drop, which they appear to be continuing to dropping, the number of new listings coming on the market is a little thin, okay? All the more, but again, who sees the buyers? You guys are excited with buyers?
Yeah.
I see buyers. I just use this from my own personal experience. My 2 closest friends that I've known since childhood, one of them just bought a property out in the desert and closed escrow 2 weeks ago, and another one just wrote an offer on another property out in the desert 2 days ago. Okay? These guys haven't bought a house in the last 5 years. Okay? So, and these are just, for all intents and purposes, these are family members of mine. These are kids I've grown up with since I was, 10 years old. And they are doing what? They're engaged in the market. The consumer seems to think that maybe things are a little bit better, which is why I'm pretty excited about this. There's just I didn't really do my full-blown, oh crud. Let's see if my connection springs back to life here. What's unemployment doing? Well, I'm trying to get this thing to load.
Coming down.
Unemployment is down.
Because people aren't showing up on the report anymore.
Well, that may be part of the reason. Let's take the pessimistic view that unemployment is down because people aren't reporting up for work, and we've lost 1 million or 1.5 million people that basically have said, hold on a second. Nah, I'm trying to get into my terminal server. I didn't. Darn it. Okay, let's just suppose for a minute what Ryan said is true, and it is true. The unemployment numbers are down because there basically are less people that are applying, and people have checked themselves out of the marketplace, right? Right? Okay. I don't care. I don't care, and the reason I don't care is because seeing stuff like this
Positive effect.
makes people feel good.
Good for morale.
Okay. Unemployment was at 9.1% a year ago, not even that, 7-8 months ago. Remember when we sat in this room, I put up the thing from Chris Thornburg, and we've got it on video, and we're like, Chris Thornburg has lost his bloody mind. What's he doing? He's got unemployment dropping like a stone. What's happened since, and again, I hate to keep coming to this guy because it's getting almost embarrassing. What has unemployment done? It's dropped from 9.1 to 8.3 in about 7 months. And his projections have unemployment continuing to drop well below 8% by November. And again, we're not going to get political here, whether that's good or bad for whoever you are voting for in November. I don't really care. but it's good for our real estate market, okay? The perception in the public, just looking at my two buddies, they want to buy a house. There is confidence in the marketplace that wasn't there before. And if you guys, which is partially why I sent that email out yesterday, because let's see, it's been so long. Anyway, that's partially why I sent that email out yesterday, because I want to try to confirm if you guys are feeling the same thing. Are you or is it just that January, let's go to the gym feeling, which wears off by February, and now we're kind of in the same boat? That's not what I'm hearing. You know, again, I've been in every single office, you know, multiple times. I have agents come in this office as well, coming up to me and saying, "Wow, this is crazy. The phone's ringing off the hook. I've got buyers coming out of the woodwork." Okay, so with that in mind, I want to bring something to your attention that we've talked a little bit about before, and it has to do with inventory. Okay, I am really, really optimistic this year. I mean, I have not been this optimistic as it relates to what our real estate market is doing in a long time. It's been probably 3 years. As a matter of fact, I think in the last sales meeting, I stood up and said, this is the first time in a long time I really truly feel confident if I were as an agent, I could turn around and I could look a buyer in the eye and say, "Hey buddy, I think now's a good time to buy." And I just did that with two of my friends. I represented them as buyers. Do you believe that? I don't represent buyers. Okay? Now granted, these were friends of mine, but when they said, and one of them who's been asking me for 3 years, when should I go out and buy a house? And I have said for 3 years, not now, be patient. Not now, be patient. Not now, be patient. Well, he just closed escrow on a property in La Quinta a week ago. Okay? $525,000. Not a chump change piece of property. I don't really know what the value of that was, but it was probably $1 million house, 3 years ago, whatever it happens to be. But I can turn and look at him in the eyes and say, you know what? I think you should sleep pretty good with this purchase. Okay? So with that in mind, this is what's kind of got me, this is what's on my radar. So I want to lay the foundation. I am really optimistic for this year. I think this could be the year we turn the corner, our market gets stronger, and we all actually make the money that we're all capable of making this year. Okay? I said this a year ago, and I'm going to say it again. If your personal goals do not include you doubling the amount of sales in 2012 that you did, and for most of you, that is not saying much. Okay? For most of the people in this office, that means instead of selling 2 houses, you're going to sell 4. Okay? So when I say if your personal goals do not include doubling your unit sales, then I think you need to go back and take a look at your personal goals. Now, if you close 15 or 20, I still think your personal goal should be to double your unit sales, because I think the market is poised to do that. I have one concern, and this is why I asked Shelley to let me get on my soapbox a little bit this morning. Okay? This is it's impossible to read. I'll read it to you, but I'm going to give you the background on this. This is an ad that has not basically been published yet. Matter of fact, I'm not even supposed to show this to you. But this is an ad that's going to be put out, something similar to this anyway, by the California Association of Realtors. And they're putting it out for the following reason. We have talked in this meeting about Fannie and Freddie and bulk sales, right? And we've talked about the rental restrictions coupled with those bulk sales, right?
Right.
Okay. When I went to the Inman News Conference in New York, and if who's getting Inman News? It's a daily blog, it's free. Okay, if you're not getting it, get it. I used to forward it out to you guys on a daily basis. Most of you blocked me because you didn't want me to give it to you anymore. And then Brian said, stop spamming these people. We're getting on red lists or black list or some list we're not supposed to be on. But subscribe to it yourself. Inman News is a real estate blog. Okay? They do 2 conferences a year, one in New York and one in San Francisco. About 30% of their content has everything to do with real estate, has to do with us. Another 30% is techie, which is why I like to go. I kind of see what's going on from a technology standpoint. Another 30% is market forecast type stuff, and then about 10% of their conference is just a grab bag of nonsense. Okay? I'm in New York, January 7th, or 3rd or 4th, whatever that was. The very first panelists that come up at the Inman News Conference are talking about what? Bulk sales of REO and rental restrictions. I'm sitting 2 rows behind Joel Singer, who is the CEO of California Association of Realtors. He's the boss that we pay to kind of run our show. He's our paid gun, so to speak. And I'm sitting on the edge of my chair as they start to discuss this. This is within the first 5 minutes of the conference starting. And they're talking about bulk sale REO and the rental restrictions. And guess what their take on that was? You think they thought it was a good idea or a bad idea? This is a real estate conference, by the way. Anybody other than Shelley?
Good opinion.
Wake up, guys. They thought it was a good idea. Okay? Oh boy. Who said oh boy? Janet, was that you? Oh boy. I said oh boy. The blood drained from my body. I broke out into a cold sweat. And I said, oh boy. These guys think this is a good idea. Then I immediately grabbed Joel by the back of the neck and said, did you just hear what I just heard? These guys think this is a good idea. We don't, and we haven't done anything about it. The next day, a separate panel was up, and guess what they were talking about?
Bulk sale. Bulk sale.
Talking about the exact same thing. Talking about bulk sale and rental restrictions, and guess what they thought? They thought it was a good idea.
Good idea.
Okay? Now these people are from all over the country. And the logic is, we have a foreclosure problem, right?
Right.
We have a shadow inventory problem, right? Properties are stuck in the system, right? They're not getting out of the system, okay? The thought was, well, this will at least do what? Flush them. It'll get them out of the system. It'll get them off Fannie and Freddie's books. We won't be hearing any more about shadow inventory. We won't be hearing any more about tsunamis. We won't. And in effect, it'll get these properties off of Fannie Freddie books. And it's not just Fannie Freddie, by the way. It's all, it's FHA. It's not that there's a lot of VA stuff, but it's FHA. It's all of the government-sponsored financing programs that are out there that gets them off the books. So, to be honest with you, I freak out. And I'm freaking out because, going back to this, what's our problem here in Inland Empire? We don't have enough houses to sell.
Right.
Okay? We need more, I don't care what they are. Short sales, bank owned, whatever it happens to be, we need more inventory to sell. We don't have enough inventory. So anyway, we go back to the California Association of Realtors meetings 2 weeks later in San Diego, I don't know where that came from, in La Quinta, or Indian Wells. And finally, we get the attention of the California Association of Realtors leadership, and we say, hey guys, which by the way, CAR's position on bulk sales and rental restrictions is what? Who knows what it is? Well, if you can read this, we are against it. Okay?
Now.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. I tried to get some action taken on this last September, and everyone thought, well, geez, Lance, I don't know what you're talking about. This isn't going to be a big deal. And now here we are in February. And anyway, 2 weeks ago, CAR passed a motion that basically says we are officially going on record that we think that the bulk sale program and the 5-year rental restriction program is a bad thing. Now, there's a problem with that. And by the way, this is the ad that you may see in the newspaper, and I'll just read it. Well, let me see if I can blow this up a little bit, because I don't think I'm even going to be able to read it. This is. I'm curious, if you don't know anything about this, I'm wondering if for the first time seeing this ad, whether it has any impact on you. Another gift to Wall Street. This time it could be your home. A scheme to liquidate hundreds of thousands of bank-owned homes in $50 million blocks may feed faceless, profit-driven institutional investors, but in some states it would hurt home prices, depress property values, and devastate families. That's not recovery. It's wrong. The current community, every community is unique and should be treated that way. In California, there was low inventory and a stabilizing market. Most bank-owned properties sell within 60 days. Wall Street doesn't need another gift, yada, 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 yada. So anyway, the gist of this is to attempt to educate the public and the regulators and the legislators that bulk selling these properties is bad. Okay? Now, I know for most of you have already heard this, but I'm going to give you my 60-second, description of what this is again. Okay? We have an inventory. Oh, by the way, where are they proposing to lay out these programs?
Hardest hit areas.
Hardest, Brian. I'm going to put a star on you. Hardest hit areas. If you look at all the articles that, again, and if you're not subscribing to Inman and DS News and Housing Wire and all these other real estate related blogs, you need to start looking at this stuff because this is your business. And the proposal basically is we are going to roll this out in the hardest hit areas. Would we qualify as a hardest hit area?
The hardest.
Okay. And there may be areas in this country that say, okay, and everyone always picks on Detroit. That seems to be completely unfair, but let's just pick on Detroit. If this program is suited for a community like Detroit or the suburbs in Detroit, then so be it. But my concern is that when I see articles that talk about quoting the FHFA, okay, that's the agency that's controlling Fannie and Freddie and HUD and all the rest of those right now, and they say we're going to roll these out in hardest hit areas, I feel like we have a bullseye right on our chest, which would basically mean these properties would be sold in bulk, which who has investors? This is what really frustrates the heck out of me. Who has had a heck of a time getting an investor offer accepted on a Fannie or a Freddie because of the First Look program, and basically have been kind of felt that their investors are second-class citizens and need not apply, right? I see a lot of hands going up, okay? Frustrating, right? The stated policy basically has been investors need not apply. We want to deal with owner-occupants. And if you do apply, wait your 15 days and get in line, and then maybe we'll give you the really, really dog properties that nobody wants, okay? This, you talk about 180-degree about face. Not only is this tailored 100% to the investors, it's really crappy, which is why the headline in this little PDF for this ad is, and I'm not a conspiracy guy, and I am by no stretch, I don't know that I really like this ad. I don't hate it. I certainly think it's better than nothing. But what's the tone here? Wall Street's bad, you know, they've screwed us, and let's not give them a gift, right? I am not that guy. I am not the anti-Wall Street guy that think Wall Street has destroyed the entire market. I've never been that guy. I think we destroyed the entire market as a community. Buyers, sellers, agents, lenders, Wall Street, we all were getting fat and dumb, and we just screwed it up. Okay, it's easy to blame the Wall Street guys. Having said that, where would these properties go? Who in this room is working with an investor who has the ability to put together $50 million in capital? Truly has the ability to put it together. I don't think there's anybody in this city. You know, there may be a few of you say, oh yeah, I've talked to a lot of people. My response would be, show me the money. Okay, you show me somebody who's got $50 million and the ability to put it together. Most people, if you have really investors, they'd be lucky to be able to scrap up enough money to buy one house, maybe two. Okay, so this is not the people that you and I are working with. And by the way, the $50 million blocks, from what I understand, is the low end. You know, I've heard stuff that they're, you know, 500 million blocks, $500 million blocks, thousands and thousands of homes. Okay, which again is bad. Okay, and if I'm repeating myself, I apologize, but this does a whole bunch of negative things for our marketplace. It takes this inventory off the market. Yes, I'm being selfish. It's less listing inventory for me and anybody in this office that's doing REOs. Okay? Having said that, it's not just me, we have an inventory problem. Okay? No listings, no buyer sides, no escrow, no mortgage, no title, and then these properties get locked up. And by the way, if you hear different programs out there, from what I understand, there's several different pilot programs they're talking about. Some of them are just flat out bulk sales, let the buyers, investors do whatever they want with them. To be honest with you, I'm not completely opposed to that. Although that would personally have an impact on me and most everybody in this office, because there would be no listing buy side to that. Okay? But if that gets the property out of the system, it gets it onto the marketplace, and the investors do what they want with it, honestly, I'm okay with it. Okay? The ones that really worry me are with the rental restrictions. 1-year rental restriction, 3-year rental restriction, 5-year rental restriction. There's an article, which I won't pull up right now, but there's an article that was, I think in DS News, that said something to the effect that Fannie has somewhere about anybody see this? 160,000 properties in inventory right now? Anybody? No? Okay, and I think Freddie has about 80,000. That's a lot of houses. That's a lot of houses. And that doesn't count. There are 40,000 properties that have notice of defaults filed against them between San Diego, or between the Mexican border and San Luis Obispo. and about 8,000 of those are in a 20-mile radius of this office. Okay? All those, well, not all of those, it really depends on the scale of this. It depends on the scale of what they're proposing. If they're doing large amounts of bulk sales, and they tie these properties up for 5 years, do we all agree that that is not a good thing for our marketplace?
Yes.
Again, there's no transactions there. There's no, and those properties are locked up for a 5-year window. So I've taken all this time to express this to you, because quite honestly, I've been screaming about this for about 6 months. And by the way, this is going to happen. We are not going to stop this. You know, Ben Bernanke, who knows Ben Bernanke, Federal Chair, Reserve, on January 4th, came out and said, I think one of the solutions to a real estate recovery in the United States is bulk sales and a rental program. Publicly. It wasn't in a newspaper article, he said it on television. Okay? And if he comes out and says that, he's as much of a politician as anybody else. Politicians just don't normally come out and say something like that unless it's already been tested, it's already been polled, they've already got the legislation. Oh, which by the way, this is another thing really quickly, and then I'm going to move off this topic. This is not done legislatively, guys. One thing that CAR is really good about is fighting or supporting legislation. Okay? If there is a bill that comes out that says we want to do something that affects real estate, SB 55, CAR says, marches up to Sacramento or marches down to Washington and says, hey, we think this bill is terrible for real estate, let's kill it. Or we think this is good for real estate, let's support it. We're really good at that. This bulk sale program and the rental program is not done legislatively. It is done regulatorily. Which, if you're a political junkie like me, it really scares the hell out of me. Because there's not a politician, there's not a bill that we can go and say, hey, we think this is a bad idea, don't do this, or we're going to vote you out of Congress next year. Okay? This is done by the regulators for Fannie, Freddie, and HUD, and they literally write the regulation, sign the regulation in effect into law, and then what happens? Done. Done. The appraisal stuff. What was the acronym for the appraisal chain? The HVCC. Everybody remember the HVCC? HVCC was a knee-jerk reaction, my term, for a real estate market that's gone crazy. Lenders are in cahoots with appraisers, and they're the reason the market got crazy. Therefore, wholesale capital is no longer allowed to call Dan Marshall and say, hey, would you go do my appraisal, and I need you to bring this in at $250 and do it.
We don't do that at all.
Huh?
Don't do that at all.
Understand. But what did HVCC do? HVCC took that relationship and said, you can't do that anymore. You now have to go to a, whatever, I don't know what they call it.
Appraisal man.
Appraisal management, there you go. Appraisal management company. They pick somebody out of a hat and there you go. Was there a law that said we're going to do this?
No.
Was there a bill? No, this was done by regulation. So whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea, my only point being is it was just done. And I can tell you a few people, or at least most people that think it was a terrible idea, frankly, are the lenders and the appraisers. How would you like to, who knows Dan Marshall? Okay, Dan Marshall's been appraising in this town for as long as I can remember. I've been here for 20 plus years, he's been here for 20 plus years. Great appraiser, and great relationship, developed relationships with every agent and lender and everybody who could give him business. And then with the stroke of a pen, how'd you like to be an appraiser? I haven't talked to Dan in a while, but the last time I talked to him about this specific topic, he was like, my business is gone. I've spent 20 years developing a relationship with my clients, and now, because of a regulation signed by the regulators, I'm out of business. Now, out of business is an overstatement. I know he's probably found a way to survive, because that's who he is. But the reason I tell that story is we have to pay attention, folks. Okay? And I feel for the last 3.5 years, up until now, we've just kind of been watching our real estate market and saying, wow, look at that, a moratorium, a modification program, and this or that. And have just been sitting back and saying, whatever, nothing we can do about it. So with that context behind you, or behind me, this is a bad idea, okay? I think for the first time since September of 2008, our market is poised to recover. I am so optimistic about this coming year. But if this happens in large scale, all of my optimism leaves. Okay? Because we have an inventory problem. You think we got a problem now? What are most of the transactions what are we doing right now? Most of our transactions are distressed. REO short sale. Okay? If we're going to take significant numbers, and again, this is a big if they're only talking, by the way, Fannie and Freddie are doing this already. Okay? This is not new. Fannie's been doing this for 2 years. Small scale, bulk sales, and rental restrictions on properties. Been going on for 2 years. If this is done in large numbers, my fear is that this red line is continuing to get smaller. Our transactions are going to then continue to get smaller. And that's not good for any of us. And it's not good for the real estate market. It's absolutely not good for the real estate market. So with that in mind, my build-up is the following. You are going to see stuff like this. You are going to get a call to action from NAR or CAR. You're going to get a red alert email from NAR or CAR, and they're going to say, this is going on, and we want you to make your voice heard, whatever that may be. Who has gotten those and actually responded to them? Okay, well, frankly, I'm surprised as many hands have gone up. Okay? I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm about as involved as anybody I know. I get those things periodically, and I got to tell you, I have not responded to every single one. And then I felt bad about it after the fact. Oh, crud, I was supposed to send my letter, I was supposed to click a button, and I didn't do it. Okay, no, I do most of it, but there's been plenty that I haven't. Okay? This is not an option for us. Okay? When you guys see that stuff come through, or you see anything on this, you need to do whatever you can in your way. Some of us are a little more, involved than others, but if you know your local assemblyman or congressman or whatever, or you're not adverse to writing letters, we need to get behind this. And basically, this is not a matter of stopping this. This is happening. This horse has left the barn, the train is on the track, whatever analogy you want to use. Okay? What I want to do is I want to minimize it. Okay? If they're going to do, I don't know, if they're going to do 10,000 units, I want to make sure they only do 1,000 units. If they're going to do 100,000 units, I want to make sure they only do 10,000 units. Whatever it is, we need to get this minimized because I think it's going to have a serious impact on our business. Okay, I've droned on. I'm probably losing half of you in the audience. Does anybody have any questions about this? Or anybody any thoughts? Anybody think I'm crazy?
When is it supposed to go into effect?
I think it could happen any minute. It literally could happen any minute. They started discussing this last September. And frankly, when Bernanke came out January 4th, the announcement in my mind was, okay, it's coming. And now again, it's almost impossible. If you're subscribing to any of these news, real estate related blogs, almost every day. Is anybody seeing these things come through?
Yeah, they're already processing the investor application.
That's another thing. They're right now absolutely correct. They are processing. If you happen to have one of these buyer investors that thinks, hey, I can qualify up to a $50 million block of property, they're processing applications. They're basically pre-approving these applications right now to see whether or not you're qualified to submit your offer. There's a video in here. I'm not going to show. Well, maybe I will show it. Do we have any mics hooked up, Brian?
Just the one.
Just put it to the screen.
This just makes me sick. Let me see if I can get this, if I'm in the right spot. Yeah, I'm in the right spot. Okay, this was on Real Estate Insider. It's a pretty decent blog. It's actually a couple of real estate agents that put this thing together. If you can't read the headline, it's 2012 housing trend. Bulk REO investors buying to rent. This is the part that makes me sick. Anybody recognize this guy? I know it's kind of hard. His name's right here for those of you in the front row.
Rick James.
That's Rick Sharga. Anybody, does that name sound familiar to anybody? Okay, Rick Sharga, I've been following this guy around the country for the last 3 years. Okay? He is on the speaking tour basically on all of the foreclosure seminars. You got the foreclosure, you got Sean O'Toole with Foreclosure Radar, and then you've got Rick with, God, it's escaping me. Where did Rick used to work? Rick used to work, you guys you'll recognize this here in a minute. Where did Rick work? Realty Track. Thank you, Drew. About 30 seconds too late, but thank you. Okay, Rick used to work at Realty Track. Who's heard of Realty Track? Realty Track is one of the largest data aggregators in the real estate business ever. Okay? I've been watching this guy for 3 years, sitting right next to Sean O'Toole when he was the president of Realty Track, saying, we have a real estate market problem. We have no market, the inventory is bottled up, we have shadow inventory, and we need to clear the market, and we need to do all these wonderful things, so on and so forth. Well, guess what Rick Sharga is doing these days?
Promoting bulk sales.
He is, not only is he promoting bulk sales, he has left his position at Realty Track, and he is working as the CE something or other, or president of Carrington. And guess what Carrington is doing?
Leader.
Carrington is the leader in the bulk REO sales. I don't know how long this is, but I'm going to play it for you anyway. I got a captive audience. Let's see if you guys can. Let's see what Rick has to say. By the way, I can guarantee you, Rick would not have said this. 6 months ago before he had this job. Matter of fact, not only would he not have said it, he would have said that what he's basically doing is a terrible thing for the real estate market. So let me see if I can get the speakers working here. I think this is about 4 or 5 minutes, so bear with me.
It's a big housing story. Carrington, that's a major private equity firm, is ready to spend $500 million to buy up foreclosed properties from a major bank. It's the second such deal this week. PE firms start to make bets on the millions of empty houses that are across the country. Well, our real estate reporter Diana Oley joins us live now from a conference in New York City. And Diana, you've been breaking these stories for us. So tell us about this new Carrington deal and what they are going to do with all these foreclosed homes.
Well, you know, actually, Mandy, this is a step ahead of what we were talking about yesterday with Waypoint, which was a deal to get the money together. Now we have a deal that is actually a company talking to the bank about buying not only potentially foreclosed properties, but also troubled mortgages. And joining us now is Rick Sharga, formerly a member of Realty Track. He used to be with them, now with Carrington. Now you're in the middle of these deals. I know you can't talk about the details of this potential deal, which bank it's with, but this is the first deal we're really hearing of. Private equity getting in there, buying up either foreclosed properties or distressed mortgages from a big bank. Tell us, what is the most difficult part of negotiating this kind of deal?
Really, it's getting the inventory, and the inventory has been the Achilles heel in moving any of these deals forward. At this point in the cycle, you would have expected us to have seen probably more bulk sales than we've seen today, and really that's been the gating factor in moving most of this deal forward.
Now, also there's a problem with the banks, what they're valuing these homes at, and we're talking about this on the blog today, also is about whether they would see potential further write-downs if they sell these properties or these mortgages in bulk at further losses. Is that what you're looking at as well?
That's a possibility. I mean, it is a distinct possibility that not all the real estate assets have been written down to current market value. They may have been written down to some extent, but not the full extent. And if you're talking about a $500 million or $1 million deal, and you haven't written down all the assets, you're going to have to recognize a lot of losses. But the reality is that if you've done your business model properly, if you've done your homework properly, you probably don't need massive discounts from the banks or from the FHFA or anybody else selling the portfolios in order to make these deals work.
Well, you brought up the FHFA. We know that federal regulators and the Obama administration, we heard they even had a big meeting this week in D.C. talking to private investors like you about selling bulk foreclosures from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and the FHA. Is that something you and your people are going to want to get in on?
We'd very definitely be interested in participating in the FHFA program as long as it's structured properly. We think it makes a lot of sense in terms of stabilizing the housing market and providing opportunities for rentals for homeowners who have been locked out of this current market.
And you expect big returns on that from the rentals?
Yeah, you expect a reasonable return on a year-over-year basis for your investors. You're probably not talking double-digit returns necessarily, but you are talking reasonable returns. And then at the end of the cycle, when home prices have appreciated, another return when you sell the properties off.
Okay, I know the anchors want to get in on some questions here. I'll let them talk to you.
Hey, Rick, it's Brian Sullivan. Listen, are you meeting any populist resistance on can see people saying, look, here you got these private equity firms, Wall Streeters, whatever, destroyed the housing market. Now they're trying to come in to pick up the scraps. Yeah, there are a lot of consumer activist groups that aren't happy with the notion of financial institutions coming in and participating here. The reality is most of the people who are involved in the decimation of the market are no longer in the market. And it's probably just not a smart thing to try and throw a blanket over the whole financial services industry because that's where the capital is going to come from for the recovery.
Rick, another thing we were talking about yesterday with Waypoint was the fact that they have a lease rewards program. In other words, eventually...
I'm just going to stop that right there because I think I'm having a stroke. At any rate, I liked this guy up until I saw that because he is so full of crap. And again, you hear me talk about Christopher Thornburg a lot and Sean O'Toole. I put this guy right in that category because he understands what's going on with the market. He knows that there's a problem with the market. And up until him taking his position with Carrington, he would have said, although he would have said getting the inventory out is a good thing. Okay, he never would have said bulk selling it and locking it up into a rental program is a good thing. But now he's got a job which basically pays him to do that. And you talk about someone who's well positioned. It's a former CEO of RealtyTrack. That's a big deal. If this guy doesn't look familiar to you, it's because you just don't watch the financial news. Okay, he's on CNBC and MSNBC and Fox Business News all the time. This guy's been on television a couple times a month for the last 5 years talking about the ills of a real estate market. Yep.
And doing that, are they thinking of renting to these buyers, to the tenants for like a 2-year while they recuperate on their credit and being able to buy?
Well, that's part of the problem. If you were really paying attention, and I've watched this video 6 times, so let me point out some of the tidbits that you may not have. And by the way, if you want to see this, go to Real Estate Insider News. This was posted January 14th. Okay, you can find it on Real Estate Insider News. One of the things that he had indicated was there is a problem for people basically getting into housing post-foreclosure. Is that true? Do we have a problem with people finding a house to rent after they've lost their house to foreclosure? No. I've got 50 vacant rental properties right now. 50. Okay? I bet probably at least 50% of all the properties that we've rented in the last 2 or 3 years have been people that have been coming out of some sort of a distressed asset problem, coming out of a foreclosure. Okay? We have no problem renting to these people. Okay? I mean, they got to have a reasonable job. We know their credit's going to be blasted. We know they had a problem with their mortgage. But as putting on my property manager hat, which by the way, I don't like this for a lot of reasons. I don't like it for us because this is a reduction in unit sales for us if this happens. But I also don't like it from putting my property management hat on. I now have 50 vacant properties that are going to basically be competing with, and again, I'm not anti-investor, don't misunderstand me, but they're going to, which by the way, did you hear what he was talking about? We have put $50 million in units. He said $500 million to $1 billion. Okay? $500 million to $1 billion pools of property. What percentage of a discount are these people going to be buying these properties at? Cents. I don't know whether it's going to be 30 cents on the dollar or 60 cents on the dollar, but I can guarantee you it ain't going to be 70 or 80% on the dollar. It's going to be significant discounts. Okay? The question was, well, what's the return on investment going to be to the investors on the rental side? Did you hear what he said? Well, it certainly won't be double digit.
9.9.
Who's getting double digit returns on their rental investments right now?
Nobody.
Nobody gets double digit returns on their rental investment right now in this market. Very few. Okay? Just the fact that he said it won't be double digit indicates, but he did indicate it was going to return a positive investment for these investors. Who do my 50 individual landlords now competing with? They're competing with large institutional investors who just bought properties for 30, 40, 50 cents on the dollar. Their ability to rent that property for even 10% less substantially undermines not only my rental owner clients, it undermines our entire marketplace. Okay?
More foreclosures.
Foreclosures. So when he talks about it in those terms, it just slays me. And it also, partially, one of the reasons, there's two reasons that I can kind of understand. Actually, one of them I can't. There's one reason I can understand is why they want to do the rental restriction. The big why have we not released all of these tens of hundreds of thousands of properties to foreclosure? Why have we not done that in the last 3 years?
Hurt the market.
It's going to hurt the market. The tsunami comes on the market collapses, the world ends, and therefore game over. Okay. So the thought being is if they bulk sell all these properties, they're trying to eliminate the problem. One thing would go away. We'd have to rename it. But we'd have to rename the shadow inventory. Instead of the shadow inventory being on Fannie Freddie's books, the shadow inventory would now be the shadow rental inventory. And we'd all be wondering, okay, well, after 5 years from now, sometime in 2017 or 2018, are we going to be inundated with a lot of these investors who have said, okay, we've got the properties at a discount, we've rented them, got a return on investment, the market is now stabilized, and now we're going to do what? It's time to sell. So we have a 5-year blackout window, no transactions. And then in 5 years from now, then we have this, what do we have? We have basically the same exact flipping problem that we have today, except now it's a question of, they're not going to come on the market as foreclosures, they're going to come on the market as basically tenant-occupied rentals.
Isn't that going to have a similar impact of just too much supply for the rental inventory now?
Maybe.
The prices are going to be unsustainably low?
Maybe. I don't know.
Even at 50 cents on the dollar?
I don't know. We've seen a 70% drop in property values in this city, right?
Yeah.
June 2006, median price in this city was 300 and, I don't know what the heck it was. I was selling crap for $320,000. Crap. Okay? We've seen a 70% drop. We're, across the board. The sun is out. Grass is relatively green. Cars are driving down the street. Gas stations are open. We're struggling. Market's been tough, but we're alive. We're doing it. We've kind of hit our bottom, and but that's the fear. The fear is you cannot have a 70% drop in property values across the country because the world would end.
So they prefer to sell this to investors as opposed to working with the actual homeowner? I mean, they're willing
This
to
plan
sell
would, this plan is, and it's not just investors. These are not the type of investors that are going in to see Ryan's investor seminar, okay? I would assume that most of the investors that have been going to WCC's investment seminars over the last couple of years have been people that are maybe buying 1 or 2 properties. I would imagine the bulk of them are 1 and 2 properties. Maybe you get a big-time guy who's going to buy 20 or 30 properties in a year. But that's not this. Right. These are huge numbers. So, and by the way, I'm not anti-investor. Gosh dang, I want all the investors. If you want to sell these to investors, let's put them all on the market. Let's sell them one at a time. Let's sell them one at a time. Because if you look at our property management pool, we have probably 500, 450 owners that we rent from right now. All of those owners, with maybe the exception of 5% of them, they're us. They have 1 rental property. And they're doing everything they can. They're hanging on by their fingernails to hang on to that rental property. And most of them are not landlords by choice. Most of them are landlords by circumstance. Divorce, job transfer, they got fired, the market's bad. They really, if they had any other means, they would not rent the property that they've got. It's in our house, in our rental stock. They can't afford to compete with this type of stuff. So at any rate, I apologize. I've gone way. I told Shelley I needed like a half hour. I think I've done almost 45 minutes just on this.
So what's the answer then?
Okay. Well, the answer is this is what CAR is doing. Going back to put that little little thing on the screen. CAR, which forget it. I'm not going to pull it back up. CAR is doing a lobbying campaign and a print ad campaign to the public, basically getting the public aware that we as realtors think this is a bad idea. And we want the public to feel that as well. I want my landlords to know that. Quite honestly, if I was a homeowner or a small investor, I would say, hey, I'm a small investor. You're cutting me out. I've written hundreds of offers on Fannie Mae properties, only to told, you can't have it because you come in with a 15-day first look, and we're not interested in selling to investors. But we will sell to those guys over there who have $500 million. It's bullshit. I mean, I don't mean to be vulgar, but it's bullshit. Okay? It's downright wrong. Okay? You've got our landlords over there, and I've told this story before. This has happened many times in the last 2 years. I have a vacant property. Andre owns it. I call Andre up and say, hey, Andre, the tenant who lives across the street from you just called. They want to rent your house because the house that they're in across the street is going to foreclosure, and they got the notice on the door, and they're planning ahead because they don't want to get caught straight. They don't want some REO guy knocking on their door and saying, you got to get out. So they called us up and they want to move into your house, and they think they're going to be out in the next couple of weeks. So they filled out an application, they're ready to go. Then I get to call Andre back 2 weeks later and say, or Andre calls me and says, hey, are they moving in this weekend? And I have to tell her no. And the reason I have to tell her no is because why were they moving in the first place? Because their house was in foreclosure and they were worried that they were going to have someone knock on their door and tell them to get out. Right? Well, guess what? Someone knocked on their door, and what did they tell them?
To stay.
Stay.
You can stay.
Yep.
And you can rent from Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac or whoever it happens to be. And now, private John Q. citizen Andre has a vacant property that she's holding on to with her fingernails trying to get this thing rented, is now competing against the federal government for a tenant. Is that right?
No.
Guys, this is ridiculous. And it's just so blatantly obvious to me. I just can't imagine that we're letting this happen to us. And this is 10 years, not even 10 years ago, 3 years ago. 3 years ago. If I had knocked on someone's door and they had begged me to stay, could I please stay? Let me just rent it for a month or two, or God forbid a year. That was laughable. The thought of me going back to Fannie Mae or the bank and saying, they'd like to stay and rent for a little while. What do you think?
No.
How long have you been doing this, Lance? We don't do this. We are in the liquidation business. We are not in the rental/property management business. But now they are. So, which makes it even that much more unpalatable, if there is such a word to me, because it's going to, bottom line, this is not, and again, I know I said I'm bullish on the market and I think this is going to be a good year, and I believe that, but this should give all of us cause to pause for a moment, take a look, and see what we can do to minimize the impact on our marketplace. Yes?
So how long will this thing last, do you think? I mean, do you think it's going to be a couple cycles they'll buy stuff up, sell it and buy it, the investors will bulk buy it, or do you think it's going to go on for years?
I don't know. There's an email that I saw which I literally laughed, but now maybe I shouldn't have laughed. Maybe it's right on the money. There was an email that I saw 2-3 weeks ago that came out from DS News, and the headline was, at existing pace, it will take 10 years to clear the distressed property market. And the reason I laughed is I thought to myself, 10 years to clear the distressed property market? I mean, you're telling me that if I'm in distress today, that I haven't made my payment for a year or two, you mean now I can stay for another 10? I mean, when you really think about it, how could anybody make a statement it would take 10 years to clear the distressed property market? Because in theory, even in our current state, we're not letting people stay indefinitely, are we? I mean, at some point, we're going to say the moratoriums are ended, the modification programs have been exhausted, and now what? So, I mean, I can't imagine, I could imagine, who would have thought, in 2006, which is for me when this thing started, we're talking 5.5 years ago. I can remember sitting down with David and Debbie in 2006 saying, we should have this all cleared out in a couple, 3 years, get back to business. Certainly by 2010. By 2010 it's going to be done. Guys, we haven't even started. Seriously, we haven't even started to address this problem. The number of properties, let's put this in perspective, and I do want to get off this topic. I have 2 other things I want to talk about, and we'll get out of here in 10 minutes. In 1997, I was a Fannie Mae broker at the time, and I remember getting every time you get an REO assignment with the bank, it has a number attached to it. And I never really understood what the numbers were until one of my asset managers explained to me, is when you get the REO number and it starts L00, 5123. Well, 5123, that was how many properties have been foreclosed on in the country for that particular, so at that point, it was like 5,100 properties that had been closed. And you get, 2 months later, you get one with the 6,354. Well, 6,354 properties in the country. And I can remember, and I think it was 1995, getting the email, or getting the assignment. It was faxes back then. You didn't get emails. You got a fax, and the assignment came over with the 10,000, 102. And they made such a big deal out of it. In that year, they had foreclosed on 10,000 properties in the United States. This is Fannie Mae. And I can remember thinking what a huge deal that was, and what a huge deal they made out of it. Because they had never foreclosed on 10,000 properties in the entire country in a one-year period of time. And it was the end of the world. Okay? Now they've got all sorts of fancy little numbers in front of the numbers, so I don't even know how many they're foreclosing on right now. But the number is, there's millions of properties in default. When you see those numbers of millions of properties in default, there are millions of properties in default. Which is maybe why the bulk sale thing in some ways does make some sense. Because they've got to get that property off the book. But the short answer to Shelley's question, I have no idea what they're talking about. I don't know whether this is a program. If they do the bulk sale with the 5-year restriction, well, that's tied up for 5 years. Now, whether they're just going to bulk sale for the next year or two and then stop, or whether they're going to try, this is what I'm hoping is going to happen. They're going to try this. They're going to get a lot of blowback from organized real estate. You guys should hate this. If you're in the mortgage, now Ryan's over here. He's happy. These guys got a little ace in their pocket right now, and it's called, what's it called? HARP 2? HARP 2, right? The refinance program? The Housing Affordability Refinance Program. You guys are going to start funding loans in March or April or whatever it happens to be. So if I'm a lender, well, at least I got HARP 2. But if there's no listing side, no buying side, no mortgage side, no escrow side, no title side, you talk about an unemployment problem. Okay? The mortgage guys should hate this. The title people should hate it. Kathy should hate it. Where's Kathy? Did she leave? She had enough of my nonsense? Kathy with Old Republic should hate no home warranties. Okay? Termite guys should, we all, the landlords and tenants should hate it. We should hate this. So what I'm hoping is as this starts to come through, people become more aware of it. The public and the industries as a whole. I talked to Brian Piccolomini. He used to be president of the Mortgage Bankers Association, and I don't know if he was the chapter president or whatever the hell it was. I talked about this 3 weeks ago. I said, what is the NBA doing about this? What? It's about this. What are you talking about? Are you kidding me? You know, this is just kind of blind. This reminds me of September of 2008. September 2008, we were kicking butt. The market sucked, but if you looked at these numbers in September of 2008, when you looked at this chart, let's just pretend September of 2008 is here. These red lines were doing what? Going through the roof. The blue line was doing what? Going up. And the green line was doing what? It was all going up. More properties on the market, more units sold, more escrows closed. Now we were scared because property values were doing what? Property values were dropping like a stone. We were not happy. Our commissions were getting smaller. But what were we doing?
Making up on volume.
We were selling properties. Okay, I have the chart somewhere, and this thing is, it's like a rocket ship. And you could sit back and say, the market is tough, property values are declining, but we are clearing the market is working, and we're selling some units. I guarantee you, had we not done SB 1137 September through 2008, number one, I think we'd be through this market, but I'm going to make it even a larger guarantee, which I could never prove. Tarbell Realtors would still be in the city of Moreno Valley. Prudential California would still be in the city of Moreno Valley. And half a dozen other companies that have closed their doors would still be in business. Now, we'd be lamenting about the good old days of, $400,000 sales prices for, 300 square foot piece of garbage. But we'd be selling properties. Okay? I can pretty much guarantee you I would not have acquired Redlands, Claremont, Covina, or Santa Ana. Wouldn't have done it. Because the reason I acquired those folks are going out of business. Right? Not enough unit sales. These numbers were going through the roof. My fear is that what this could do is this could make this chart trend downward, which would not be good for any of us. Especially given there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic. I got to tell you, this market is exciting me. Okay? It really is. There are some reasons to be excited about what's going on out there. So, I'll take one more question on this, and I'm going to, 2 other things, and I am done. Yes?
I just wanted to say, there's always an open window of opportunity when something like this happens. And I can't see investors, as the rental market gets looser and looser, and rental values start coming down, I don't see the investors continuing to buy these big blocks because I don't think it's going to be a huge advantage to them. The other thing that I want to say is the opportunity for us is listings. You need
Yes.
to take short sale listings because if you have listings, you'll be able to double end them. You'll have stuff to put your buyers into. So if you're looking for buyers, why are you looking for buyers? Look for sellers.
Yep.
Instead of advertising for buyers, advertise for sellers. Learn how to take short sale listings and take lots of them, and you won't have to worry about it.
That's right. That's spot on. Absolutely spot on. You've got to be a short sale listing king. And for those of you that don't like it and want to continue to work with your buyers, and if you're having success with it, fine, then you continue to do that. But I'm telling you, you need to go out. We're doing a class today, which, by the way, apparently I'm seeing your broker doing training classes is not very impressive, because I've had an audience of like 2, maybe 4. So maybe you're waiting for it to come out in my 8-disc set. But we're doing a class today on open houses. Now you may sit back and oh, I don't know how to do an open house. I would suggest none of you know how to do an open house. Okay? So get engaged. Come to my training class. I challenge you to come to my training class today at 3 o'clock. Okay? But you got to get engaged. And Shelly's right. You've got to go out and grab these listings. They're out there. Just ask Diane. Yeah. Did you see Diane? No. Leave me alone. That's the one thing about being a great agent in an office like this. People point to you as an example, and you're like, no, don't do what I'm doing. Don't do it. It doesn't work. All that hard work and effort doesn't work. Those short sales that I'm closing, I only closed 4 of them this month. It doesn't work. Don't do that. Guys, this business is not that complicated. Okay, having said that, this is the link from our website. Let me back up a little bit just so you understand how to get there, because we do have some new agents here. If you go to coldwellbanker.com, if you go to our website, which you can get to in various fashions, you can go to pioneerrealestate.com, you can go to cbpre.com, you can go to cbmarinovalley.com, you can go to cbredlands.com, you can go to a whole bunch of cbus.coms. Get to our website. I'm going to pretend that I am a consumer, and I'm going to go to the Find an Agent button, and it's going to bring up our Find an Agent page. And I want to look for somebody, oops, a little bit fast on the scroll bar, and I want to find an agent in Moreno Valley. And I am a consumer, and I'm in Dallas, Texas, and it's going to take us to the coldwellbanker.com site. This is the last time I am going to share this with you, because I think this is the 3rd time I'm going to share this, or have shared this with you.
33rd time.
And having said that, this is the last time I'm going to say this. I have given you, how does that go? You lead them to water.
You can't make a horse to water,
You
but
can't
you
make
can't
them drink.
Lead a horse.
Whereas my dad would say, you can buy them books and you can send them to school, and then they eat the teacher. Okay? All right. There are 2 agents in this office. 2. We have, I think, 75-ish. At least, most of you in this room have heard me say this at least 3 or 4 times. There are 2 agents in this office that have uploaded a video. One of them is Chris Leeper. Do not ask me why, and I've told Chris to fix this, and he doesn't want to fix it, apparently. Chris, be quiet. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. But it should say watch a video here. Something's wrong with his video. Okay? So, I can't watch his video. Selena is the 2nd agent, and by the way, it took Selena 2.5 months to do it, but, I give her credit. She finally did it about 2 weeks ago. Her video rocks, by the way. If you want to see how to do a nice video, take a look at Selena's. Okay, everybody from here on down. By the way, if you run this site, who's going to show up in #1 position?
Video.
Chris, Selena, Chris, Selena, Chris, Selena, back and forth, back. Selena, I'm sorry, I would do that. Selena, Chris, pop, 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 pop. Ruth Ann, next time, is going to show up at the bottom somewhere. Okay? I don't know what's wrong with you guys. Honest to God, I don't know what's wrong with you. Take a flippin' video. Chris, redo your video. Post it up there so it says, watch video. You will always be on the top. How long did it take you to get a reply back, young lady, from your video posting?
Reply back from.
Didn't you get a consumer that said, hey?
The next day.
The next
Somebody
day.
called me.
Did you hear that? No. If you are afraid to shoot a video, shoot a video of me. Come and say, Lance, would you please do my video? And I will say, yes. Rose Serta is a great agent. I've known her for 20 years. She worked in our office. She's a lovely person and a very professional agent. Use her. I'll do it for you.
I had a class on doing the videos, and only about 3 people showed up. I did your guys' videos for you, and they were never uploaded.
Right. So, I shall never speak of it again. Okay? I just don't get it, guys. I don't get it. This is free. Actually, it's not free. This is costing me money. This costs me $100 a year to put your face on this thing. All you've got each. Okay? Times 170 of you. I'm spending $17,000 a year so that you guys can post a video. And out of all of our agents, I think there's a total of 6 agents that have taken the time to post a video. If you're not doing video, I'm telling you, you guys are out. You're done. Pack your bags. You'll do your 2 or 3 deals a year, but if you're not going to engage in this media, you are out of business. You're going to be out of business. Who has an iPad? Your buyers and sellers do. Your buyers and sellers do. I was out as a consumer looking at some houses in the desert on our website, which, by the way, our website's pretty darn cool. You go to our website and you want to search properties for sale, especially if you've got an iPad, and you come over here and you click find a property. It's a little different on the, but I'm out in La Quinta. I don't know anything about that marketplace. Okay? I'm not accessing the site as a realtor. I'm accessing our site as a consumer, and I'm pinching and I'm clicking and I'm finding properties on the map and I'm getting descriptions and I'm getting all sorts of great stuff. And I'm calling realtors, and guess what? They know. I know more about that property than they do. And guess what? What do consumers, they want pictures and they want videos. Tell me who you are. Tell me what you're about. They're out driving around with iPads and Samsung Galaxy tablets and whatever the hell else is going on out there. We're going to get buried as an industry. You are going to get buried as an industry. I may get buried along with you. Okay? But we got to get active with this stuff. Okay. The last thing I want to talk about, I think I've actually forgotten.
Good.
So, yep, I heard it good, so I guess I'm going to give myself the hook. Anybody got any questions or thoughts? Anybody got anything to say? Chris is going to redo his video?
Help me.
Help you? Help you do what? Anything?
Video, I don't care.
Oh, you need help with it? Guys, if you're struggling with the video, just shoot the damn thing. Ryan's volunteered a dozen times. Brian's never volunteered 2 dozen times. I told you I'll shoot the thing. Just, come, I'll do it. I'll tell you what a great agent you are. Post it. It doesn't matter. Post the damn thing. Fix it later. Okay. I don't see any questions. I've gone long. All right, guys. I'm going to close with the following. This year is our year. Let's take it. Let's grab it. Let's seize the day. All those wonderful sayings that you want to come up, whatever gets you going. Go to work. The business is there. I'm a little fearful about this rental thing. I'm going to be honest with you. But putting that aside, this is the year. I think we're going to turn this corner if we get some inventory to sell. So, go get them. Have a great week. Sell something.